All right, we're up to red line. Hi everybody, Jim from County Corvette. I have today a 1978 Corvette that is a original car. Now when I say original, I mean original paint. And when you look at the pictures, you're gonna see some paint flaking off and probably looks like a ratty old car. And by some measurements, probably not wrong in that regard, that the paint is old and flaking off. But I don't see many cars like this anymore, because this is an original paint 78 Corvette. I mean, this thing is 46 years old and the bumper covers are not cracked. The car was always kept inside. But it is an unpainted original paint. The interior in the car is incredible. It's a 41,000 mile original car, and it checks out. It's a legit car. The prior owner bought it with 35,000 miles, and it was titled in Pennsylvania in 1991. Last time it was inspected was 2004, of which it had 35,000 miles. So it was sparingly driven, but I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I can tell you, it's original lacquer paint on this car. So, the problem there is, what do you do with it? Me personally, I think this car deserves to be stripped down and redone in the original blue lacquer, because it could be done in a way that you wouldn't do any body work on it. Just literally strip it. A lot of it comes off with a razor blade, and that's what the car deserves. And that's why I didn't go in here and try to touch it up with an acrylic urethane or something like that. It just doesn't serve the car justice. But it's a real deal car, and it's an inexpensive car for somebody that wants to get into, not only the Corvette hobby, but maybe like the NCRS type aspect of the hobby. That's not for me to decide or judge, I mean, pun intended. But this would be a great car for that, because this car would actually score really well on CRS. Despite some of the paint having some issues, and judges are going to go crazy over the fact that it is, a completely original paint car, and has actually held up pretty well. Because with the exception of the upper panels, the sides and all look pretty good. It's cracked, and that's what happens when lacquer fully evaporates. The solvent cooks out of it over a long period of time, and you get that cracking. So it's an interesting piece, but we've gone through the car. It needed a body mount. Oddly enough, it had one rusty body mount, but the chassis is really nice on the car. I can't explain that. It could have been bad metal. It was the right rear, I believe. But yeah, we just did go through it and did a couple things to it. The car was well maintained. It had these tags on in the engine compartment where I suppose the prior owner would write down oil changes and that type of thing. Kind of cool. It just shows pride of ownership and meticulous ownership. Just an interesting car, but priced in a range where, hey, it's a great entry-level car. We're going to run it and drive it, and I've already driven the car and checked it all out. And like I said, it's gone through the shop and been evaluated and anything it needed done, including tires. So the car has sat for a while, so we did want to ensure that it's a safe driver now, and it is, and it's just a cool car. So let's take it out for a ride and see how it performs. Okay, we just started to pull this thing out here. And this car literally just turned 41,000 miles. And I know the odometer works because we actually bought this car fairly local. And it was working on the way back. So it's a legit 41,000 mile car. It's just such an honest car. For example, I took an existing plate off the back there, and this bumper covers had no paint work. There's no overspray. It's just, you don't see cars like this out there anymore. And I'll tell you, the interior it's truly remarkable. Clock's not working. Sometimes we can get them to come back to life, but it is a magnetized type arrangement. There we go. So I'm going to say the clock does not work. I'm going to leave it that way. It has a replacement head unit in there. This looks like it was done in the, it looks like a late 80s setup. But you know, all the window glass is original. I mean, look at the way the windows go up and down in this car. You can't duplicate that. And what I can tell you is the new motors that we buy don't have that kind of they don't have that kind of energy. They don't have that kind of force. And that's the way they're supposed to work. Very few do. But really, just such a nice, honest car. Yeah, this car's just never been, it's just never been one messed with. And, you know, with the exception of the paint, having you know, at the end of its life, well, if you look at it through the lens of the interior and the other surrounding parts of the car, the underside, engine compartment, it's just a car you can fall in love with. I very rarely get excited about this era car simply because most of them are junk, and they weren't, you know, they weren't anything all that special, even a 78 pace car. But when you see something that's, you know, survivor candidate level, it's special. It's like anything else that's survived. But boy, it goes down the road really nice. And probably isn't much different than when it was new. It just feels wonderful. Just an honest car. This is a really great entry-level car for somebody who wants a hobby, wants to get into the NCRS. I would show it just like this. Maybe even find more original parts, a radio, even tires, and just have a ball with this thing. Judges will love the paint. And this thing will do really well. It will do really, really well. Because the carpets are original, seat covers, door panels. I mean, it's just amazing. Really, really special. I like it. What a treat. There's no excuses with the way it runs. It started right up. No, it didn't crank. Carb's really not leaking down. You know, the fuel pump's not leaking down. It does everything it's supposed to do. Yeah, maybe replace the clock mechanism or rebuild. You know, have one of the clock guys rebuild it. It's probably a reasonable thing. But the gauges everything looks so beautifully well preserved. Just really, really a neat car. And these cars aren't powerful by any measure, not even the slightest bit. But this thing should run well enough to get a feel for it. So let's do it. All right, we're up to red line, 5,000. It shifted right into second gear, so it took me a little while to get the red line there, but no, it runs great. It's not a high performance muscle car by any measure. So, but it does feel nice and smooth, and the way a 78 would drive new in 78. So just one of those cars that you rarely come across, and just happened to find us. I think the next owner is really going to enjoy owning this car, just because it's just so well cared for. I really don't think the car ever spent any time outside, other than driving, where this interior would be trashed. Lacquer, unfortunately, you know, starts to check and craze and everything else. As I said in the first part of the video, lacquer is fully dried when all the solvents are evaporated out, and that takes 25, 30 years. But that's what we're dealing with now. I would almost be tempted to go to the company out in California that makes lacquer paint for these cars and find a painter willing to try to blend it. It's going to be a little difficult because, you know, going into paint that's already cracked is going to be, how can I call it, I guess a shit show is probably the right word. Probably impossible to do, and I'm probably fantasizing out loud here, but it just would be a shame to paint the car, but it's also, you know, the paint's flaking off, so pick your poison. But surely a candidate for a repaint. But it would be really cool to repaint it in lacquer. Maybe just peak it at the edges and do the tops, I don't know, something like that. That's probably what I would attempt to do if it were my car. You know, preserve it the best you can, and hang on to that, you know, original integrity, and that would, and then show it that way. I would show it this way first, get an NCRS top flight, you know, get the car out there, get it known. And again, listen, you know, I'm talking about it like it's a, you know, Survivor L88 or something. It's not. It's never going to be super valuable, but it has, you know, it's an honest car with integrity, and that is special to me. Anything that lasts the test of time, hell, be it the human body, or a car like this, you know, it impresses me. So, that said, you can buy this car with confidence. We've been through it. It'll pass Pennsylvania State inspection now, with new tires and with the one body mount that was, you know, questionable. And jump in it, turn the key, and go. And it's a great entry-level Corvette for somebody looking for, you know, looking for something in this era. And I will say that, you know, the later 70s Corvettes are really becoming popular. We've RestoModded a few of them. I would hate like hell to see this thing RestoModded, but the point being that there's a lot of popularity with these cars because of the you know, the demographic that grew up with them. So if you're mid-40s, mid-50s, these were new cars when we were kids. This car was new. I was 10 when this car was new, so played an important role in the formation of my love for cars in general and Corvettes in general. So anyway, car's not for everybody, but it will be a great car for the right person who can really appreciate its true authenticity and preserved condition. So if you have an interest in it, give us a call. Happy to answer more questions. We have a lot of pictures of it online, and you'll be able to make an informed decision. But you can buy this car sight unseen. I've disclosed, you know, the paint for what it is. It's, I mean, for God's sake, it's fairly obvious from the photos that the paint is, it's older and, at the end of its life. But that's only one part of the car. So let us know if you have an interest in it, and thanks for watching the video.